Hey, therapist, have you ever wondered if you need therapy? Be honest. In this episode, Jennifer Marie Fairchild and I tackle the question your clients and your inner voice keep asking: do therapists need therapy? We cover burnout, boundaries, and why getting our own support isn't a luxury. It's how we stay sane and deliver excellent care. Therapists needing therapy is, I think back in the day, if you worked with Freud, like you were automatically in therapy. You have to be in therapy if you're learning those theories. But not many people learn those techniques anymore, right? What would you say the theory was that you learned in grad school?
We touched on the major ones, Freud, Gestalt, person-centered narrative, existential, but it was just enough to get like a frame of reference for what the theorist was, but we didn't spend like a whole lot of time really diving into the techniques or, you know, doing any sort of role play with any specific one.
It's hard. I know when I'm an instructor, I think what we try to help students learn is, person-centered, how to reflect, how to not ask questions, how to make sure that they're giving a good content back. So it's not a lot. Okay, so clients, if you're listening to this, what's going on? You'll see your therapist's face and they may be nodding and reflecting. Okay, it sounds like you're sad. It sounds like you're so sad and you're wondering if you'll ever be happy again. But in their mind, they're thinking about what they're going to say to influence you, right? We're looking for ways to influence you toward your goal, right? So when you came to counseling, you said, you know what? I need to find a better job. Help me find a better job. Help me. Or, you know what? I'm anxious all the time. Help me be less anxious. So we've got your goal in mind. But as we're listening to you, I call it behind the clock face, so those of you who don't know what an analog clock is, it's round and it has numbers on it. We hang it on the wall. So if you imagine the clock face, what you see are numbers. What you don't see is the mechanism behind the clock face moving all the numbers, right? So there we are. We're thinking about these things and we're thinking about what we're going to say next. And so for you musicians out there, it's like, your right and your left hand are doing different things. Piano player, you've got a left hand doing bass, you got a right hand doing the melody. So it's doable. It's not like we're doing, we're not breaking the atom here or, sending a rocket into space. We are listening to you, but we are formulating a response through our theory and ... our own shit. And this is where it gets really weird. Because if a therapist hasn't worked through their own shit, you may get some weird responses. And that's what therapy's for. We've talked about needing therapy because we're burned out, right? And Jennifer, you talked about like, just because there are 12 hours in a day doesn't mean you have to have clients back to back every single hour. Getting burned out isn't good for anybody. And going to therapy for that is wonderful. And therapists who are doing that, good on you. I'm so proud of you. You're going to therapy. You're dealing with the vicarious trauma and things like that. But we all have stuff. And that's why clients come to therapy, right? Because the family blew up over the turkey at Thanksgiving because somebody was supposed to bring cranberries and they brought cranberry juice or something, right? Everybody has stuff. But that's our filter. Just like you have a filter for your coffee and that's what the water brews through and it turns into coffee on the other side of that filter, doesn't it? So how can we be helpful if our filter is turning what we're going to say into something very harmful? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'll never
Yeah.
forget the first, I had a very, 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 add a couple more varies, bad experience
Oh
with a family
man.
member. It was not good. And I will never forget the first time I had a client that reminded me of that family member. And it was, I mean, it was like you could have poured cold water on me, and I'm sitting here like trying to, because it's not this client's fault. This client is here, they need help, and it's not fair for me to be interpreting everything they say through this lens of the experience that I had with this particular family member. And so that's one thing I processed through therapy. Like, I need to go to therapy so I can deal with what happened in this interaction over here, so that it has no impact on how I work with this client. And I don't think therapists understand that till the first time it happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. And did you ever have a professor tell you, like, so as most of us will put students through a values clarification, like we want to know what your triggers are, basically. And we'll have you fill out stuff like, how do you feel about abortion or suicide or someone who doesn't have sex like me, right? So that you can do that introspection. And we don't do anything with that in class because we're not your therapist. But one of the things, and that's my question for you, did you ever have a therapist say the person who triggers you the most is going to be the person who shows up in therapy?
No, but that's so true.
I tell my students that. I mean, if you're having an issue with your creepy Uncle Fred, and, this is, I'm not kidding, whether it's a couple or even, someone who is not male like Uncle Fred, when they come through the door, if they talk like them, if the cadence of their voice is like them, if they lean forward like them and point their finger at you like them, I mean, something about their mannerism can trigger, like, that filter snaps into place and you're like, right? And it takes a lot of training to be able to stop and say, ooh, is the thing that's about to come out of my mouth helpful, or is it my
Yeah.
own shit?
Am I talking to Uncle Fred or am I talking to my client? Because they are two different people. And just because they remind me of each other does not mean they are each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never forget. I had a professor tell me that there was a particular population that they wouldn't work with. And it was a very general, but also a very specific population, because that
Mhm.
population triggered that professor. And I remember thinking as a student, you can't turn away every 35-year-old person that walks through your door named Susie, but that was
Right.
the first time I realized that, like, we should work through this, but a lot of people don't.
Well, that's one of the things, maybe, going back to things you wish you had known earlier in your career, is that exact statement, right? If I'm triggered by someone, but I've already agreed to help them and we've built rapport and they're sitting in front of me, they don't know that I'm triggered. They don't know this is my issue. As an ethical therapist, it's my obligation to work through my shit so I can continue to be helpful to them, right? If I stop the session or wait till the session's over and go, oh, you know what? I just realized I can't work with you because, don't worry. It's not you. It's me, and it's fine. And, I hear 3 referrals there. We're good, right? Have a nice day. I mean, that's awful. And we are professionals. That's why we hold a license. And so, if you're out there shopping for therapists, please check and make sure they have a license. Please make sure that they hold a state piece of paper that says that they are able to do therapy with you, because this is one of the things I know we are trained to go deal with our shit on a regular basis. and to be aware when our shit is clouding what's happening in the therapy room.
And
And that's
it's
part of what
easy.
supervision is for too, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's easy. We have so many interactions and so many relationships that it's easy to find in any client something that reminds you of something, whether it's yourself as a kid or as, somebody you knew or somebody you dated or somebody in your family. Like it's very easy because that's what our minds want to do. The human mind wants to draw connection. We draw
Yeah.
connections through patterns show up in repetition, and that's why we might meet somebody and go, oh, you remind me of my friend, and we instantly bond with that person. And it's not because we know them, it's not because we really truly bonded, but there's something in them that reminds us of that familiarity, I can't talk, with somebody else. And so as a whole, we have to learn how to shut that off and treat every client that comes to the door as an individual with their own unique problems and their own unique personality, so that we don't, like one client more than we like another client because this client reminds us of this friend that we had back in high school that we love dearly. It's so that we can keep that ethical, we treat everybody the same with that same justness and fairness, so that we don't, it just as easily as we don't like them, we connect too much.
Yeah. And speaking of that, that's still the number one reason that therapists and mental health professionals get complaints filed against them, because we have sex with our clients. And so the word for this, everybody who's not in the business, is called countertransference. Countertransference. It means I am interpreting a situation that's happening in this room through my filter, and I am getting an incorrect message. It's my stuff, not the client's. I'm supposed to be a receptacle for the client. I'm supposed to be listening, reflecting, influencing, listening, reflecting, influencing for the client's well-being. And the minute I start thinking, they're kind of cute. Yeah, you know what? I think we could probably be a thing. And my texts happen to get a little longer and more explicit. And I mean,
I
so
laugh,
many
but it
women.
happens.
I know. And the idea that we as counselors would look at therapy as only for people with, problems. I mean, oh my gosh, how hypocritical is that, right? I mean, for us, it's just maintenance, and counselors, therapists, mental health professionals, if you're listening to us, it's not saying that, okay, if you find yourself attracted to a client, you're doing something wrong. No, attraction is normal. That's that. Anybody can be attracted to anyone. It's acting on that attraction. And are you professional enough to be able to stop and go, whoa, I need help immediately. I need to call my therapist. Or if you're still provisionally licensed, I need to call my supervisor. And if you're afraid of your supervisor, call a supervisor you're not afraid of. And by the way, fire the one you're afraid of. Because this is normal. Countertransference isn't something we cure in a therapist. It's not something that we ever get to the bottom of and it's done. And right, we're all better. It's just who we are, and we're human beings, and therapy helps us get to the bottom of it so we don't make that mistake of acting on something that is not in the client's best interest. Right? I mean, or something that's harmful for us, I mean, I remember, you were talking about that. I remember when my dad came into the therapy room, and this guy, he did not look like my dad. He did not have the same accent that my dad has or had. I mean, nothing about this guy looked like my dad until he leaned forward and pointed his finger at me and raised his voice, which, by the way, clients, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do all of that, right? Therapists, we're trained to take that. It's part of the healthy session. You're totally okay doing that. I started crying in session I busted out crying. I was so embarrassed. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I ended the session. I called them later. I apologized. They apologized to me. And as a professional, I could not recover that relationship. I ended up giving them referrals. But I did. I had to take it to my own therapist and say, what the hell? I mean, I've been a counselor for 15 years by that point. And it's like, what the hell just happened? I thought I was better than that, and they just laughed. Like, oh, silly counselor.
That's so cute. Aw, bless your heart.
Yes. She blessed my heart.
I did. That's
So,
funny.
yeah, do therapists need therapy? Yes. And, if nobody told you that early in your career, or if this is your second career and or third career, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I was so capable in my other career, I can handle this. You just never know. And we take an oath, just like all of the other professionals, to do no harm. And we cannot do something in our interests that is harmful or against our clients' wishes. So, yes, therapy. Get the therapy, therapists. Right? I mean, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I think it's always necessary. It's just a good.
Yep, me too.
And I think
practice.
it gives you some credibility anyway, because I've literally had clients tell me like, "Oh, you don't understand. I'm the one in therapy. I'm the one with problems." And I laugh and I'm like, "No. I've been a consumer of therapy many times in my life. Let's just normalize that."
What was that old hair club for men? Right? I'm not just a spokesperson, I'm a customer.
Yep. Exactly.
We need therapy too. Everybody needs therapy. Therapy is not just for broken people. You are not broken if you go to therapy. Look into my eyes. You are not broken. It means you are doing your best and you're trying to do something amazing. So even if you're a mental health professional, get your butt to therapy. If you've ever been your most difficult client, hit like and subscribe for more episodes that keep it real for real therapists.